Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your motivational speaker, trainer and head coach from Live, Love, Give, and today's message is all about think big, act small. And the reason why I felt really cool to bring this message to you guys today is that I'm speaking with so many people who are really, you're really like thinking about these huge big goals that you want to attain, but ultimately you're trying to take these huge giant leaps out of your current, your current way of being and trying to really make this huge thing happen that you've never experienced before in your life. And it's coming from this great place of like really want to achieve something really meaningful, but you're really trying to take these huge leaps and it's preventing you from getting your results because you're placing these huge expectations on yourself, and therefore you're not following through because it's too big of an expectation, or you try and take this big gigantic leap and it's not kind of working out for you. Sorry about the noise, that's a truck going by. But yeah, so that's what I really wanted to bring to you, is it is like all about dreaming big, getting that big, amazing, compelling future, envisioning it and creating it and, building it from a place of inspiration, but then not just trying to make it as big a move. You're not trying to achieve it in one big move. You've got to take it back and make this more of a long-term goal that you're looking to create, and know that we get to our long-term goals by taking small, consistent actions. You've got to act really small, act so small that you can remain consistent each and every day. And that ultimately, when I made that shift from like thinking big and dreaming big about these great things that I wanted to attain, and instead of having these huge expectations on myself about being able to attain it in 1, 2 or 3 steps, and something I'd never even done before, or also placing such high expectations on myself, which ultimately only served to diminish my self-belief because I wasn't able to meet up to these huge expectations. Instead of doing that, my hope is that this message gets you thinking about those goals that you've got in your life, and how much are you just placing these huge expectations on yourself to turn your whole life around within the next week or month or even the next year. If it's a really big goal, you've got to be doing the small consistent habits that are going to get you there. Again, sorry guys, I'm like pulled up at the wrong spot obviously with all these trucks going by, but yeah, I really want this to get to you guys in terms of what are the small consistent actions that will get me towards that big, audacious, amazing, creative, inspiring goal. And also, if you guys are someone out there and maybe you're not even dreaming big, maybe you're thinking small and acting small, and you're not really getting anywhere. So I hope that this message also triggers you to get outside of your small-mindedness and dream big. And I like to advise people to go somewhere that is truly inspiring to them, somewhere where, they can just, get to a new level of who they are and dream bigger as their higher selves, rather than, in your everyday space where you just, you're keeping yourself small in that environment. So hope that this is resonating with you guys, and let me know. I'm going to check in with you guys and see how you're going. Moises, nice to have you as always, and Stephen and Jason and Hassani, love having you here, and Josie and Gianni and Frederick and Alexandria, back again, I love it, and Cheryl and Chris, awesome to have you, and Amy, love that you're joining me from South Australia. Gianni, nice to have you, and Michael, nice to have you, and Krishnakant. Yes, okay, yes, you're reminding me, you did ask me this question, I think yesterday or the day before, in terms of overcoming anxiety. Let me give you a bit of value here on this message, but I'm going to actually do a proper Facebook Live for you on that. What I would say is that, Krishnakant, with our anxieties, I'd probably want to have a bit more of a conversation with you to identify exactly what your particular circumstance and scenario is, and how long this has been going on, and all sorts of things. I think you've booked in a 15-minute power session with me. If you haven't, make sure that you do that, and I will give you more personal, direct information about how you can overcome those anxieties. But ultimately, our anxieties come from different places, and a lot of the time, our anxieties are all mind made. Sometimes we need to tackle it from different angles, in terms of tackling it from the physical level, just slowing down and breathing. Sometimes our anxiety is something that we're creating on the physical level, and it's keeping us stuck. We're short of breath. We're not just slowing down, taking a deep breath. And also, we really need to recognize what is triggering our anxiety. It's all mind-made. What am I thinking and believing in this moment that is generating this feeling of anxiety within me? And that's when we can start to build some self-awareness, taking those deep breaths like I really need to do now, because you guys know I'm still recovering, and I'm just like, it's such a funny experience for me. Just having this lack of energy. But, with those anxieties, really focused on what am I thinking and believing that is creating this anxious feeling within me. Everything is made up in the mind, and it may or may not be true. We don't know, but it's about building that self-awareness piece around what's going on for me. And when we have that foundational piece of self-awareness, that is when we have the power to make a shift and make a change from an empowered state, rather than getting so caught up in the anxiety that we have no way out, and we just don't know what to do. So Krishnakant, my short, really tiny little piece of value and answer to you right now is that you ultimately need to identify what you're thinking and believing, and coupled with what triggers that thought or that belief for you. So building that self-awareness piece is always the first step, no matter what change we want to make in our lives. And that's just a small way of doing it with anxiety, and also recognizing the power of the physiology on our feelings of anxiety, and making sure that we are taking those deep breaths and recentering ourselves, and then being able to question what we're thinking and believing. Hope that was a little piece of help for you, Krishnakant. I will definitely make a Facebook Live over the coming days for you, in terms of talking a bit deeper into anxiety. And definitely, if you haven't already, book in that 15-minute power session with me, and I'd love to connect. Adrian, awesome to have you, and Stephanie and Michael and Daniel and Andrew, awesome guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Frederick. I'm so grateful that you're finding value in these messages. Means a lot to hear that, so thank you so much. And Nadia, nice of you to join me. And Khaled, love seeing you. Haven't seen you in ages. And Leroy, awesome to see you. And sending you much love there, James and Mike and Tiger. Hi to you. And Humayan, sorry guys, my brain is like half operating this last week. Tina, awesome to have you, and Carolina and Richard, and Amy and Emily and Samuel and Dinesh and Alex and Jabs and Diego and Jen, love having you here, and Jean, Francois, and Michael and George. Howdy Vanessa, good, you're well, sending good vibes and positive energy your way. And same, straight back at you, George. I appreciate your well wishes so much, because I'm actually kind of struggling. I've got a really bad head cold at the moment, but it's moving on out, so I'll be back to normal, hopefully not too much longer. Lars, nice to have you, and Samuel and Angela and Noel. And yes, I love, Jen, that you're from New Hampshire. And Hassani, do you find incantations useful for changing your beliefs and mindsets? Okay, so Hassani, I love your questions as always, and what I would say to you is that so many people get massive value from the incantations. I know Tony Robbins talks a lot into it, and I'm a big believer in testing things out and seeing what works for you. Personally, I don't use incantations to change my beliefs or my mindset. There's something about it that for me personally, I don't like that feeling of, it almost feels to me like I'm lying to myself, and I just can't move past that. But like for a lot of people, that doesn't have that feeling at all. So I don't want to turn anybody off incantations, because I know how powerful they are for so many people. But for me personally, when I want to change and shift a belief or a mindset, I question it. And that is so the reason why I love talking into Byron Katie's work. She just does phenomenal stuff, and it's just simple. It's just about building that self-awareness through questioning what our beliefs are, how they're serving us, how they're hindering us, what would be a more empowering belief to take on board, and shifting our mindset from that way. So you've got to test this stuff out, and I hope that that was helpful, just sharing my perspective there. I love your questions as always, Hassani, and yeah, so definitely give it a go if you haven't already and see if it works for you. But personally, I just like to sit and question. I like to identify how I'm feeling, like my emotional state, and I like to question and try and find out, how did I get here? Like, what am I thinking and believing that is generating this experience that I'm currently having right now, that I actually want to shift? And then I identify how I want to be feeling, what I want to be experiencing, and then I identify the kind of beliefs and thoughts that will ultimately lead me to that kind of feeling. So it's all about building self-awareness. I just like to become the questioner, become the observer of what's going on for myself, and then empower myself with new beliefs that will get me there, that I totally believe in. It's just that kind of shift in mindset and focus. Hope that was valuable. Thank you again, Hassani and Savula. Lovely to have you. Thank you, Samuel. Appreciate your well wishes there. And Danny, nice to have you. And Moises is saying that he loves incantations. I love that. I love that you get so much value from them, Moises. Thanks for sharing. And love to you, Thomas. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for you. And Chris, every anxiety tree starts from a root. Yeah, find the root and begin a growth and closure and clarity. Love it, Chris. And I love that analogy. Yeah, definitely. You know, like, understand, you know, that terms from it. So it's coming from somewhere, you know, coming from that place. Every tree starts with a root. I love that. And yeah, and every anxiety starts from a root too. You know, there's something that triggers us, that gets us caught into this pattern. Often if you're experiencing anxiety for a long period of time, you're just trapped in some patterns of thoughts and beliefs, some physiological patterns. And ultimately it's about identifying that with self-awareness, identifying the root, like you're saying there, Chris, and coming from a place of change and empowerment and transformation from self-knowledge and awareness. So I love that. Awesome, Jen. I'm so grateful that you needed this message today, all about think big but act small and be consistent. Focus on consistency. Like, I heard this message so many times throughout my journey, particularly in my business, and I got it, I understood it, but I never really took it on board. And it was only when I really took it on board, when I recognized that these huge expectations that I was placing on myself just weren't working out for me. They were getting me into this stop-start, and just, you know, it was just all over the shop, and I couldn't get any traction. And it wasn't until I finally just had enough of having that same experience of stop-start all the time and feeling like I was sabotaging myself, that I finally took on board this message and got consistent with something much bigger and much more long-term in mind. And it took me out of it. I came from more of a place of service and contribution, and that already just loosened the reins, you know, and it allowed me to just be consistent, lose the rules, you know, stop having these huge expectations, and just identify what are the small, consistent actions I could be taking on a daily basis that I'm called to do, that they're small enough that I could do no matter what. Like, I'm sick right now. I've been sick all week, and I'm still showing up and doing the things that I've been consistent with on a daily basis in my business, because I created them like that, and I had a bigger picture about service rather than how I'm feeling in everyday moments. So I hope that helps you, and I love that was of value to you, Jen. Thanks for letting me know. And Hassani, I usually feel the same way. Don't like the feeling of lying to myself. Thank you. I really need to explore this questioning process more. I'll look more into Byron Katie too. Awesome. I love that you're going to look more into Byron Katie's work, Hassani, because I just absolutely swear by it. It is simple. It is brilliant. It is all free. You know, she's a brilliant woman who puts this service out to the world.